Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
Hello, I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, February 6th, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, man?
What's up, guys? Yeah, happy to be here. It should be a good show. Lots to talk about this week. So it feels like we are on the fringe of the Derby really getting going. So a little Tampa action, and then the 50-point races next week.
Yeah, the Tampa race. This particular Tampa race is never too pressing as far as it leads up to the Derby, but it definitely is like the kind of the final one. And last week too, having we'll get into the kind of recap of last weekend here in a second or after a while, but having Citizen Bull come back, which obviously, like we talked about last week, was your 2-year-old champion and kind of the first horse to kind of see, okay, how are these horses coming back as far as 3-year-olds, and boy, he lived up to the hype. And so that really felt like the first, like, he's in, right? Like, he could not run a race until the Derby. He's in the Derby. I mean, he'll get in the Derby with the point. He's got 60 now. So he's good. And so, like, that felt like a legit, the first, like, 1000% can't miss. This is a contender.
Yeah, until he gets hurt like Nysos did after this
race
last year.
Don't run him again.
Put him in styrofoam, right? As the coach say, bubble wrap, as the coach would say. Yeah, he was good. Citizen Bull definitely was what you kind of would hope. There's all kinds of things negative you could say about the race as far as there's only 5 horses. 3 of them are Bob Baffert. He got an easy lead again, and there's no rebuttal to any of them. We didn't learn, can he rate and win, and can he beat horses outside of his barn, that kind of stuff. But I think, Bob Baffert said last year this was going to be a better horse when he turned 3 and as the season went on. And I think the number one takeaway I could kind of see from that is that it looks like that's kind of happening. He was better, I thought, this race than he was even in the last race that he won at the Breeders' Cup. So, yeah, if you liked him going into the race, you had to like him coming out of it. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. He even stumbled just a little bit and still got right to the lead. So all boxes were checked for this particular race.
Yeah, we'll touch on more on that race in particular as well as what it kind of looks like moving forward for him. But it is, we got to, before we move on, it is Super Bowl weekend, right? And I know you guys, if you guys haven't seen it yet, I listened to part of it from yesterday, but the Dudes Who Bet, I listened just to the Super Bowl portion of the show. But and I did listen to the beginning of it when you guys discussed the insane trade.
Yeah.
Which I was the same way when I heard that. I saw it come through. No, actually, someone texted me, I think, and I was like, "No, okay, that's stupid. Like, it's not even like, it was almost so. It was so dumb. Where you're like, that. Why are you like? That's not even funny, Like, great, haha, And then you're like, no, it's real. And like, no, okay, and then you look it up on ESPN. You're like, what? There's no way. There's no chance that's real. And so, yeah, the Luka trade still doesn't comprehend really.
No,
but then I obviously did listen to the portion of the Super Bowl preview. So how are you feeling? I guess you should be asking me that, but how are you feeling as far as your betting aspects to the Derby or to the Super Bowl goes?
Oh, great. Yeah, I didn't have to handicap it too much. It's a cheese for me. I just think if it gets into a close game, which I'm pretty sure it will, I just trust them to win it a little bit more. I kind of broke it down on Mad Dog / VSiN last night. The key to the game, and it's really, I think, the biggest thing to watch for Sunday night or Sunday afternoon, wherever you live. The Eagles' run game versus the Chiefs' run defense is going to decide this game, because if the Eagles cannot get Barkley established or on some zone reads to get Jalen Hurts established and get yards on the ground, this game is over. And so that's going to be the big key. That's the path to victory for the Eagles. If they can get Saquon and get his, meaning he gets 100 yards and a couple of scores, then all of a sudden I think the Eagles can win the game. So that's a big key. It's strength versus strength as well. Chiefs have a very good run defense. Obviously, the Eagles have very good run offense. And Eagles have a pretty good defense, but obviously the Chiefs have a good offense. So it's a lot of one-on-one strengths of these teams going at it that are going to decide it. So, but no, I feel pretty good about the Chiefs. I think a nice hedge bet, if you're going to bet the Chiefs, go bet Saquon Barkley at plus 240 to win the MVP. Because if you feel like I feel, yeah, you could play the Eagles at like plus 105 if you wanted to play them, or you could play the Chiefs and then have a little saver bet with Saquon there at plus 240, because I think if the Eagles win, Saquon's the MVP.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I think it's I think it's that simple for me because you look at what they did 2 years ago. They of course they didn't have Saquon 2 years ago, but they said, all right, Jalen's gonna have to beat us. And I mean, he damn near did, right? He did everything he could do, including running the ball in the end zone like 3-4 times. Then last year, I mean, CMC didn't come into the Super Bowl as hot as, I mean, obviously CMC was like had an unbelievable year last year, but he didn't have Saquon Barkley's year this year, but very similar, I would say, as far as the threat when they came in. What did we do? We shut him down. We said, all right, you're going to now he made some plays, obviously, but it was like, it's going to be Purdy that's going to have to beat you. Like the Chiefs have a very good run defense. Spags is, I mean, just hitting all the right buttons right now as far as play calling. So I really think I'd be surprised if it's I'll put it this way. I'll be very surprised if it's Saquon going off on a huge game. And that means if he does, that means they beat us. Like, I think that's pretty simple. It's just like, because I just think they'll find a way to say, okay, it's going to have to be Jalen to beat us. And then if that happens, it happens. But I do think they'll find a way to at least slow down Saquon enough.
That's why I'm on the Chiefs. I think you're right. I think he'll get a few plays, and I think he'll make some plays, but I don't think he'll be that consistent, threat where we need a couple of yards, he's going to be able to get it for us every time type of thing. I don't think that's going to happen. So, yeah, I'm on Kansas City. I just feel like we've seen this movie play out, and kind of my dad and I joked about it. He goes, okay, what happens if Kansas City loses? Well, that'll be the first time they've let us down from a betting standpoint in literally years. So it won't be that big of a deal. We could take one loss. But again, when it comes right down to it, I just think the Chiefs are a little bit better, and I think they'll be able to win a close one. I do think it'll be really close. I do. But
I mean, anyone that says it either way, whether it be the Eagles or Chiefs winning, I think it's going to be an easy win. No one beats the Chiefs by more than a touchdown, or more than, especially in the playoffs, certainly. And then certainly the Chiefs don't know how to beat anybody by more than a field goal or a one possession. I mean, we hate having 2 possession leads. As soon as we do have 2 possession leads, we give it up. So, it will be close. There's no doubt about it. We're so spoiled as Chiefs fans now that, and I say we as in I know I don't want to peg you in there because I know you're very much in the middle, but we as Chiefs fans are so spoiled now where you're just like, you go into a game as big as the Super Bowl even, and you're just like, well, I mean, we got that guy number 15, so
yeah,
I don't, I mean, if it's close, I like my side of the ball,
Yep. I mean, it's been proven over and over and over. That's the other thing about it. I think if you're betting the Eagles, you're betting it with you got to go in. If I think they're going to win, I think they're going to get up 2 scores and be able to just keep that distance, because close games, it's just over and over and over. It's been proven over the last few years. I wanted to ask you, more scared of last year's San Francisco's team or this year's Eagles team? Who made you more nervous?
Last year for sure.
Last year,
yeah,
thought they were better.
I'll say this, and this is probably, I mean, this could be the worst take ever because they might, if they beat us, and I'll look like an idiot. But I just never have been that like concerned with the Eagles this year. I just haven't been. I don't. I think Jalen is good, not great. I mean, he's certainly, I think he's better than Brock Purdy in terms of if you're comparing last year. but the coaching situation on our side is light years better. Experience is better. I don't know. I don't necessarily think the Eagles are as dominant, especially defensively. I a lot of credit. Like they a lot of people love and I know they got some good solid players on defense, but man, that crew in San Francisco, not just last year, but then the what was it 3 years ago when we beat them in the Super Bowl, like came in just unbelievably good. So to me that last year when I went into the Super Bowl, I was like, man, CMC is the way he's playing this year. Holy shit. And then on top of that, look at their defense. They're just, playing lights out right now. And so that was more concerning for me going into the game than going into this one.
From a gambling standpoint, I agree as well. I had the Chiefs last year, but I had a little more doubt. Here's how I'll kind of summarize my thoughts on it. You're not going to hear me say, that the Eagles have no chance or this is a lock, because anytime you play into these close games, you can lose. Like all it takes when it gets down to a close game is one mistake and you can get beat. So it's hard for me to say, the Eagles have no shot and just go on with it, because if I think it's a close game, they obviously have a shot, but nobody in the history of the NFL has been able to win these games over and over and over like Kansas City has. So the other side of it is, if I think it's a close game, how am I picking the Eagles to win? But you know what I mean? And again, mine's all from a betting standpoint. I don't necessarily, I want to win my bet. That's it. But I'm not a fan. So I just look at it just like last week. I kind of said to myself all year, I think the Bills will probably beat them this year. But then it gets to the week and you're like, the Bills aren't beating that team. They're not going to do that. They're not going to go to Arrowhead and win. And they had all kinds of chances and they didn't do it. So that's just how I feel about this one too.
I keep hearing people say, well, like the Chiefs or the Eagles they're just more talented than this Chiefs team. They get more talent. You look at all the receivers they have, and I'm like, at this point as a Chiefs fan, you're just used to the hate. I mean, everyone hates the Chiefs, so it's fine. But it's like well, if everyone, and they keep the Bills are more, Josh Allen, the way he's playing, he's whatever. If everyone's more talented than us, then why do we keep winning? Like that. Yeah. That's the thing I don't. It's like, okay, I understand that if you don't like the Chiefs, you're going to bet against them or whatever. But to say, and what's so funny about it is people don't realize like that all that is doing is the hate is fueling that guy on the other side of the ball that loves to win. Like, oh, you doubt the Chiefs. Oh, you hate the Chiefs. Oh, we're villains. Oh, you think the refs are helping us. Oh, you think that we don't have we can't throw the ball anymore. Or something's wrong with me or whatever it is. It's like, okay, fine. That it's that all this it just fuels, and it's like, so I kind of love it. It's like, because he made a quote earlier this week. He's like, hey, if I don't think I'm a villain, but if people think I'm a villain because I win, then fine, I'll be the villain.
Yeah, I think the public is more involved with betting than ever before, and the public so wants to not root for Kansas City that their money goes in the direction of whoever they're playing. And I think there's no more clear example of that than last week, when that line kept moving down. All of a sudden the Chiefs were like a 1-point favorite, by the time it kicked off, because all Sunday afternoon, the public money was coming in. And I don't care. Like there's real gamblers and there's gamblers that take it serious. And then there's people that are, hey, I just want to watch this game and root for this team. And they're not wanting to root for the Chiefs. They're wanting to see them get beat. And so I think that's a little bit of it as well. When you look and you go, oh, I think the Eagles are just better this year than the Chiefs. It's like, well, I don't see that. When I look at this game, look pretty much equal until you get to the quarterback, and then it's a little bit of a mismatch. So I don't know. it is what it is. But I think that's what you're seeing with the gambling that's happening and like the line movements that are happening in the Chiefs games. I really think the public is so ready to see them lose that they're just saying, hey, we're all in. We're all going to bet them. We're just going to do whatever we can to get them to get beat. And look, again, I think the Eagles have a legitimate shot for sure. I'm not going to be shocked at all if they win. But when it comes to pulling the trigger and betting your money, I could not put it on the Eagles. I just couldn't.
No, it's the Chiefs definitely have this, which is so, it's all we always ask about, or like when a repeat, champion tries to come back and defend. Obviously, they're trying to do it 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row, but have to defend twice in a row. And it's like, how do you have the motivation to, you know what I mean? Like after you've been there and won it, you're like, well, hey, it's like maybe you don't bring it all the way, but they definitely have this us against the world mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, everyone hates us, and so like let's go shut them up. And so I think, like I said, I think it's only helping the Chiefs, and that's why you don't hear any of real fans or real like the Eagles or whoever, like they're not talking, because they know, like listen, we're not gonna like we have to go out and take this. My last thing is I'll just say, and we'll move on. But the Chiefs certainly could lose. They could have lost against the Bills. They certainly could have lost last year's Super Bowl. Like, there's so many games, but I don't think the only way they lose this game is they will they won't be the Eagles beating them. Like they won't go head to head, like toe to toe with the Eagles and lose. It will be, sometime untimely strip sack or fumble or interception or something like that. That's just enough because the Eagles don't make a lot of mistakes. I don't believe they've turned the ball over once in the postseason this year. I don't think. I know the Chiefs have only done it once, like in the last 9 games. So it's been very few. So I do think that line between both teams is going to be pretty thin in terms of that mistake. So as long as that doesn't happen, and again, who knows? But I do think it's going to be more of you can't let them. You can't make the mistakes. That's the thing. So I don't think it's going to be a situation where we talk on Monday and say, well, Mahomes played, the team played flawless. It played as good as they have all season, and they lost. It'll be, no, they made a mistake here, that fumble cost, whatever. So I think that's what it's going to come down to, probably for both teams.
Well, I think that's been the MO of the Chiefs over the last 2 seasons is they make you beat you, or they make you beat them. You know what I mean? Like you have to go make the plays. They're not going to give it to you. And yeah, I mean, every team wants to do that. Not very many are able to do that, right? So there could be a game here soon where that doesn't happen. That doesn't go their way, and then there might be in a little trouble. So, thing about turnovers, you work and work and work to prevent them, and great players can prevent them, but sometimes they just happen. So if something like that goes the way of the Eagles, obviously that's going to be a huge advantage. And in a game like this, that often will decide it because, again, we're not looking at this game on Sunday and thinking it's going to be a blowout. It's not going to be. It's going to be a good game, and it'll be very entertaining.
Have you seen the stat with what Mahomes is against Fangio? It's like,
no.
So Fangio's, the defensive coordinator for the Eagles. Mahomes is 8-0 against him in his career.
Yeah.
He was in Denver, he was in Miami, maybe a year or two. I can't remember how long he was in Denver. Miami.
They had some hell of a teams down there at Denver too. So
and then the Eagles. So he's just they hadn't figured out a way to slow him down. I think, and the stats were wild as far as what he's done against him. So, one, he knows how to beat him, and two, how bad Fangio wants to get a win over Mahomes. So,
yeah.
We'll find out. I can't wait. Obviously, boys are excited. So I told Cohen if they were to win, I would take them to the parade this year, and he lit up, and so hopefully they get I heard they're not doing the rally after last year's little, what was it, a shooting? That was
right.
They ruined everything. So, but I do think they're going to do a parade if they do win. But I told him, I said, don't get ahead of yourself.
No.
We gotta win first. So, all right, let's get into some racing. What do you say? We're gonna take a look at the current 2025 Kentucky Derby picture and discuss our top Derby contenders currently. Then we're gonna get some preview and rapid fire. Some picks, especially the Sam F. Davis this weekend. It is a prep race for the 2025 Kentucky Derby. Let's go. Yeah, I know, Manlo, you're a big Chiefs fan this weekend. I appreciate it. I could send you out, Manla. I can send you out Chiefs. I don't know if I can get there in time. I can send you some Chiefs gear if you want.
There you go.
Soaked in my sweat. I don't wash my jerseys during the year. Let's see. Let's do some Derby talk here, and then we'll get into some racing here in a second. All right, guys, we are now into February racing, which means we are getting closer and closer every week to those 50-point races and, of course, the 100-point races. And last weekend, of course, we had 3 preps to go over, and Robert B. Lewis, the Holy Bull, and the Withers, all that produced points, including to the horse you see there on the screen, number 1, Citizen Bull, sitting there at a big 60 points. Well ahead of anybody underneath, and the very clear horse, 60 points, will get you into the Kentucky Derby every single year. So he's in. Let's first kind of talk about those 3 races that we saw last weekend, and we'll start with Citizen Bull with, as he is the leader in the clubhouse. He was awesome, dude. He came back in the Robert B. Lewis after his little bit of a layoff after the his juvenile, and I mean, like you said in the opening, yeah, it was kind of unexciting. Like he got to the lead and never looked back, but it was like for a horse coming off the bench as well, especially after we had kind of talked about, it's like, hey, if there was a sense like, hey, this is a race for him to kind of get the rust off, whereas Rodriguez, it felt like this was his time to do it. He kind of showcased, okay, no, I'm the real deal here.
Yeah, I think he just he showed everybody that he's still the number 1 horse until somebody knocks him off. Again, it's a 5-horse field. You just can't learn much from it. He went out to the front. I kind of speculated that maybe Rodriguez would get the trip that Citizen Bull got. That did not happen. Rodriguez ends up getting a kind of a poor trip, tucked inside, stopped, had to go back to the outside, and then made a little bit of a move. So he got a lot out of the race, but he didn't get the desired trip. But look, when you're Citizen Bull, sometimes horses are just a little bit faster than the rest out of the gate and to the front, and they get those trips because they're faster, and that they're the ones that could go out there and do it. So this will be the easiest race he runs in all year, you would think, though. So you're going to have to get, continue to progress. But we saw progression from 2-year-old to 3-year-old. Now we just kind of have to see it, keep going. But this was, as far as a first start in February, first step towards the Kentucky Derby, I don't think it could have been any better.
Yeah, I don't know what. Here's the thing, like that I saw, like Barnes, I think we saw it, but again, like you just don't know yet really until we see this next start out of him. But I think I feel pretty good about him. Mm-hmm. But this one, you're like, listen, there's been, and again, it's February. The real racing really hasn't started. We'll start to learn that in the next couple of weeks, obviously, as the races get bigger. But with Citizen Bull, when I watched that performance, and mind you, there was other racing that day. It's like, no, this is a Derby horse. Like it helps that it's Bob Baffert, but you're like, no, this, like, the way he's doing it, the way he looks, the way I've seen, like, the back races he's done, like, I don't need to see anymore. I know this is a legit Kentucky Derby, not just like horse, but like a Kentucky Derby contender, top contender winner type horse. And so now, again, lots could change. We're going to see more horses start to come back. Barnes, horses like that, maybe make their two-turn races, all that thing. But my point is, he's the one, right? And again, I think Barnes is the other one where I'm like, I think, but as far as I 1000% know, it's a horse that's going to be in the Kentucky Derby could win the Kentucky Derby. It's Citizen Bull. I have no doubt in my mind.
Based on what we see right now in February, there's no question. There's just such a long ways to go. But I mean, for what we're looking at right now, he's the one right now. Again, we haven't ran a 50-point race yet. We haven't. I don't think we've seen the better horses yet, minus maybe a Citizen Bull and a couple others that are kind of just the timing. They've kind of got it started a little bit. But so that's just it. The next race is going to be tougher. What if he faces journalism? Well, that's probably tougher than what he faced. So we'll see what he does there. But yeah, I mean, look, to me, he's the number one horse. He's been the number one horse. I get, hey, he's winning gate to wire, and what happens when he doesn't get that trip. I totally understand kind of the skepticism. The thing I also kind of liked about him, he didn't really have to be asked to go to the lead. He kind of just is naturally fast. And that kind of tells me if horses do go out in front of him and are just blazing, I don't know that he's like headstrong to have to be on the lead. I just think he's fast. So, but these are things that we're going to have to see it work out, well past February. But yeah, for what it was, he looked head and shoulders above everybody we've seen race so far in the 2025 season.
Yeah, I mean that's all. That's all you can go off of it. But It's the thing is, like, when you watch these races, when you watch, even if you watch like a horse like Burnham Square who ran that yesterday or ran that day, you're like, yeah, it's pretty good. Like, that was nice. Like, I like that performance. I think he might work his way into the Derby picture, blah, blah, blah. But, and obviously, there's a lot that goes with it being Bob Baffert and the ownership and the fact that he's won the juvenile, all these things. So it's like, this felt like the first horse we've seen where it's like, yeah, that's not a, like, oh, yeah, if that horse keeps going this direction, that's a horse that I could really get on board with the Derby. If the Derby was ran tomorrow, that's my pick. And so, that to me, it felt like the first legitimate horse. Now, again, it's early. He could get washed away. He could get pushed down the list. So we'll see. But after watching that, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm ready. I'm more pumped for the Derby now after seeing that performance. Let's talk a little bit, though, about the other ones. So a lot of hype. I know you picked Rodriguez to win the race, actually, to pick against your horse. And I think part of you, honestly, even though if you won't admit it, I think part of you was doing it to hedge a little bit because you were a little nervous about your fantasy squad. But I think Rodriguez, maybe, I don't think he ran awful. The top three, Baffert horses ran there, or ran top three. What do you think of the other two, Batmatic Road and Rodriguez's performances?
Oh, they were fine. I think both of them are decent. Rodriguez, I think, again, I just thought he would get a gate to wire trip, and he just didn't. But he still ran okay. I can't say a whole lot wrong with it based on what happened during the race. Like, at one time you're like, oh, he just didn't get the trip at all. He didn't get the position. He drops out of it, and then you don't ever really see him. That's what it kind of looked like. And then boom, he just took off again. And so I thought that was good. Look, Matticat Road, I really don't think a 5-horse field with a horse loose on the lead. I just don't think that's something that he's ever going to excel at. I'm in between. Can he win a bigger race like that? Or is he just more maybe the grade 2-3 type level? I know that was a lower graded race, but that had an elite horse in it. You're right. So I'm not off of him. I think he can still make it. I just don't know his talent level. I do know he's definitely going to need pace. Like, he's going to need more pace than that. He's going to need a normal size field and a setup, and then we'll kind of see on Matticat Road.
Yeah, I I thought it was with Rodriguez. It was very like he almost was like he was like a set in the turn or like first part of the turn. He was like, oh, he doesn't have it. He's not
Yeah.
going to do it today. He was kind of faltering back, and then he just kind of whether didn't like being there or whatever, he re-rallied and made a nice run, and obviously, and then it went from that to like, oh, you better get your running shoes on, Citizen Bull, and of course he did. So I don't. I don't take much. I felt like this. It's like I think Rodriguez still could be pretty dang good. Don't think he's at that level. Obviously, it's very clear he's not at that level yet. That Citizen Bull is with Matikit. I just don't know that he's quite good enough.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I left that race. I thought both were fine. Obviously, between the two other ones, I would go Rodriguez still because he's so raw. But I mean, they both are. But yeah, I definitely would have leaned a little bit more towards Rodriguez. But again, leaving that race, it was like those horses felt like if those horses would have won and say Citizen Bull wasn't in the race, you would have been like, yeah, it's pretty good. Like you would not have been like over the moon. This is like for sure the Derby horse. So I do think having Citizen Bull in there as kind of the measuring stick showed that's what a Derby horse looks like. These are the horses that could get there,
I would love to know the plan going in from the Baffert barn. Was it to let, Citizen Bull get the lead? Was it just let's see how they break and whoever gets it or what,
Yeah, it was surprising, right? I mean,
yeah.
Maybe that was the plan, and sometimes like if he makes the lead, he's not going to give it up, right?
Right.
So but yeah, we kind of thought going in, it was like, hey, Rodriguez, he's the new, he's the horse that needs the points, and he's this is his first test, like he's gonna get to the lead, and they're gonna have to catch him. And so that didn't really happen. So, but again, though, we talked about it last week. Now we'll see what Baffert does. From there, like
Yep.
where did will Citizen Bull get just one more star? Will it be the San Diego Derby next for him? Will he get, Barnes is a horse that might either go to the San Felipe or the Rebel. Where does Rodriguez go? You know what I mean? So now we're going to start to see these horses and kind of where his opinion is of them based on where they kind of show up, so that's always an interesting part of this as well. Another race on Saturday, the Burnham Square winning the Holy Bull. And Captain Cook winning the Withers. So let's go to Burnham Square. This was my pick in the race. It was not, by any means like a long shot, but it was, it wasn't the favorite. And this is a horse that just ran exactly like I hoped and really looked really good. I think this is a horse that continues to get better with each start. And I think he might have what it takes to make the Derby Trail.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like you said, he is just getting better and better. It was a pretty sharp effort. I thought going into the race, it's not great, but we might see one or two that are decent. And I think we saw one or two that are decent. I do think Burnham Square is one that you got to take seriously going forward. I don't necessarily think he's going to win the Kentucky Derby, but if he keeps improving like this, maybe, by April, I would say, he's got a shot, right? So he was good. He just kind of blew past everybody too. Like I was like, wow, that was pretty strong. On the flip side, the Tappan Street for Brad Cox, who finished second, I think you can project improvement for him next time out as well. Just his second start and to run second, he was okay as well. I mean, I would take the top two and, we go on to the 50-point races. I think they'll kind of have a say in things. I don't know if they'll win. I don't know if I'll pick them, but the top two horses in the race kind of showed me that they're pretty decent.
Yeah, I agree. I liked the way like he's a horse, and I even saw the quotes after the race. He was just kind of like, obviously because one of your issues with him was that where he had started, right, with Burnham, like how he had started when I think it was a maiden claiming race, and he said, yeah, I mean, he surprised us, right, like, and so those horses don't always mean they're going to be bad, but it certainly is a reason to kind of be cautiously optimistic with them. So yeah, like, and you said it on the show, and the trainer confirmed that they didn't necessarily think a lot of him heading into his first race, and obviously he's he's continued to surpass expectations, and here we are, on his way to the, one race away from making the Derby.
Sometimes I wonder, horses that are closers, they usually tend to not work out quite as fast in the morning. And I wonder sometimes if they're the ones that kind of fool these trainers because, you're looking for speed and acceleration. And, maybe with this one, he just needed to get in a race to kind of show it, and also he's clearly gotten a lot better race to race as well. And that's something you can never really project.
All right, let's head on to Captain Cook and the Withers. The Withers was obviously going into the weekend. We kind of thought, yeah, this is the weakest one of them all. He won. We picked him. Great. Is that kind of where it ended? Do you think that he could somehow make his way into the Derby gate again? Another horse that picked up 20 points.
I think Captain Cook was excellent. I think if Captain Cook would have run in the Holy Bull and won that race, people would be going crazy over him. Honestly, I think it's because it's the Withers and because it's, Aqueduct in the winter. Everybody's like, yeah, whatever. I'll say this, like with Dutrow, he's kind of, since he's been back, been a home run or a strikeout type of trainer. That's why I'm still a little bit leery. Can Captain Cook do this, multiple times? I'm not quite sure. But if you just take the Withers and look at the Withers only and that performance, I don't know what else you really kind of want out of him. I thought he was really good. He sat off the pace, and I was kind of up the backside going, why aren't you in the lead? This is crazy. Sat off of it. I mean, he passed those two just complete mules like they were tied to a pole, which you needed to, right? They were not very good. And then it's like, okay, here's a challenge from a horse that's average, but if you aren't really a 1.125 horse or you're not really that good, this could get dicey. He totally put that horse away. He totally galloped out to the wire fine. I mean, again, I don't trust the horse because of the trainer, but if he can repeat that effort, who's to say he can't win another prep?
Especially stays out there, because unless someone comes in, like, who Pletcher is MIA with horses. Yeah. And then, Chad is, who's you afraid of with Chad right now out there? He doesn't have a lot, showing up yet. And, Brad doesn't ship out there too much. So it's just like, he can continue to win, and really if he racks up another win here, or at least some points, like even if he doesn't win the Wood, he's probably going to still get in. And a trainer like Dutrow, like he'll get him there. He'll try.
And he ran the 1.125 2 seconds faster than the only other race at that distance on that day. Now, the only other race was a claiming race, so he should have been faster. But 2 seconds is significant. And I never compare times unless it's the same distance on the same day. Then I will look at it. And thanks a million to the two Stronach tracks, Gulfstream and Santa Anita, for not running any other races at the distance of the Holy Bull and the Robert B. Lewis. That makes it fun. But Aqueduct did. And again, he should have been faster, but 2 seconds faster, kind of significant to me. And just kind of backs up the fact that, yeah, he did run a pretty good race. Even if you don't really want to look at speed figures or anything, you just kind of look at that and go, I don't know if he's like great, but that was a good race. That's about as good as I thought he could run. Actually, that's better than I thought he could run.
Well, don't worry. The Stronach group is they're already working on selling the place, so that they're not too concerned about getting races to match up with other races on the day. So
I do wish, out of all their problems, this is a very minute one right now, right? Because like you said, condos are going to be on these tracks soon. But like, what is the reasoning, especially you're running 12, 13 races on your card, to not run a couple of races at the same distance as your big race? Like, why would you not do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if they don't. Santa Anita, they may not have horses that can do it.
Fair enough.
But Gulfstream, you would think, would have at least an opportunity to run. It's not like to run 1.125 races yet either. Come on. They can run one race.
You can't find 8 claiming horses to run 1.16 on the dirt at Gulfstream just to give us something to kind of, you know what I mean? I don't know. The little things like that, I don't get it,
Yeah, guys, it definitely, they basically said this week, basically saying that the Stronachs have already started looking for, or had people start kind of working on the process of what that's going to look like in the sale of both properties, which of course is Santa Anita and Gulfstream Park. Would find it highly surprising if it's someone in horse racing that buys it.
Well, let me ask you something, because I think I know the answer, but I want to be like positive, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I'm not trying to be negative. I just want to, Santa Anita and racing in California is in big trouble. Let's just leave that how it is. I don't want to talk about it. Okay. Gulfstream and racing in Florida is strong, right? Is there any chance they build a different Gulfstream somewhere? Maybe it's not Gulfstream, but just a track somewhere, or is it really just going to be Tampa Bay Downs as the only track in Florida?
I mean, I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either.
If it was not ran by her, maybe, I don't know. Like,
yeah,
there's no way it's not profitable, Gulfstream Park.
Yeah,
and even the racing side, right? I mean, I know it's expensive, but the amount of money that they generate and handle, and I mean, we've seen the handles they put in through there on, I mean, any day, but especially the big days. Like, I know it, obviously the casino is what's always going to move the needle, but you said, like, it's not Santa Anita. Like, if that one, the only thing saving Santa Anita is the history of Santa Anita.
Yeah.
At the moment, anyways. But like, Gulfstream is like, you can make it if Gulfstream sucked, or the racing sucked, or the purses were shit or whatever. Where it's located even within the location, meaning it's like the mall surrounds it basically.
Yeah,
I would say there's no chance that place is going to be around, because of where it's at. But given how successful Gulfstream Park is and has been, I'm with you. It just seems unlikely that, I mean, I shouldn't say unlikely because it is horse racing and what makes sense doesn't happen. But like, I would be surprised if there wasn't something. There should be something else. Like, you can't just let Gulfstream die. If they want to move the track somewhere else or whatever, then I think it would still do fine. And just say, hey, this is going to be used for, like, we can sell this property for condos and whatever.
Yeah.
Because honestly, guys, if you haven't been to Gulfstream Park, it isn't that awesome. Like, there's nothing special about Gulfstream. I mean, it's a cool place, but the place is small. Like, it's not, like, to me, at least this is my mind, because Gulfstream has always been, like, from the moment I stepped in Oaklawn and like learned what Oaklawn was, which has been forever ago, it was Oaklawn, and then there's this track in Florida called Gulfstream. That was really, you know what I mean? That's what really got me. And so when you first when we first got to Gulfstream, we went to one of the Pegasus or the Florida Derby, whichever one that was first. I was like, yeah, this isn't. I mean, yeah, it's beautiful. It smells like the beach. It's obviously beautiful scenery. But at the end of the day, you're like, this isn't like, I've seen bigger tracks. Like, it wasn't amazing, and so I could see like, it's not like saying, hey, we're gonna tear down Saratoga. Like, what? Like, it's just not the same.
Right. I think,
does that make any sense to do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, I want to clarify, because I think people are gonna Gulfstream's great, and I don't think that's what you're saying. You're saying, as far as the facility, there's nothing that's incredible about it. Gulfstream's great because of the vibe, like, it's super fun, and where it's at, and just kind of everything around it is. I love Gulfstream, but yeah, the facility is not. It's basically Remington Park located in an awesome area.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah.
The racing I love, and the place I love. I mean, there's nothing about it I don't like. It's just, when you walk into even Churchill, I'll say, when you walk into Saratoga, even Oaklawn,
Keeneland.
Yeah, you there's like a certain Santa Anita, even, like, there's like a certain, like, intangible factor,
Yes.
With Gulfstream, you're right. Like, we even said it, I think, when we first, it's like, this is kind of like Remington. It kind of reminds me of even the grandstands and everything. just happens to be that they run millions and millions and millions of dollars in purse money there.
Yeah.
So
I'll never forget the first time we went. We saw the Pegasus statue. Obviously, that's how we knew we were there. But it's like, we park in this little parking lot, and it's like, where in the hell are we even going? Because all you could really see is kind of the mall and everything.
Yeah, yeah. And Manlow's right. Like literally, you could, as you're walking in, you can take a shopping trip and buy some clothes before you go in. And there's been times where Halter and I have gotten drunk at the yard house. It's kind of attached to it, but kind of not. It's part of the mall, and it's just
it's weird. Yeah.
I mean, again, it's not bad at all. It's amazing. I love Gulfstream Park, but if you're gonna say, like, if you said, hey, if I owned the track and said, hey, like, I can sell this, I have no idea the numbers, but if I could sell this track for $2 billion to blah 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 and sell it, and then I can buy whatever this land, or I can repurpose, whatever we decide to do. I don't want to get into that, but for $1 million or for $100 million, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay. So when can this keeps all my Florida trainers happy, and all this stuff, and like we can still run the Florida Derby and all, it can still be called Gulfstream Park even, like we don't have to change the name. Well, who cares then? At that point, because it's not like saying, oh, we're going to tear down Saratoga, and we're gonna do another track though. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be called Saratoga, and everyone's gonna be like, "Fuck you!" It's gonna be called Saratoga. It's not gonna, that's different.
No,
I think that's kind of the whole in a nutshell.
I think that last sentence really sums it up. It's like, and that's why I asked, because again, even Santa Anita out of California, you can't just, well, we'll make a new Santa Anita. No, you're not. Like, that is something that's unbelievably special. Where Gulfstream, if they put it just in the middle of the state and call it Gulfstream, it's like, yeah, okay, I'll buy it. I'm cool with it. And that's where my worry, or my biggest, not even worry, just heartbreak is. It's like, this is a product that's doing great. You go to Gulfstream, you get a great feeling about racing. And it's like, we're just not going to have it.
Yeah.
What? Like, I don't know. So.
That's like, there's a lot of, like you said, California has all kinds of issues, and just in a bigger picture. And you don't think about, you're like, again, like I said, it's Santa Anita history that kind of keeps that thing going. With
rightfully so, I'll jump in and say rightfully so. I mean, Santa Anita is one of my favorite places on earth, and no racing there is just crushing. But I also see the reality as well. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But with Gulfstream, you're like, wow, it's just like awesome. Every time you go, it's amazing.
I know.
And the full fields always, and big purses, and everything. It's like, what more do you want? It's like, oh, they're gonna close it. Like, what?
Yeah,
that's so. I don't know. We'll see. It will be very interesting what happens in this sport in the next 3 to 5 years. Let's say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I where will racing be happening? Where will what transitions will we be making? I don't know.
Well, what may happen is the race we're getting ready to talk about might be worth $2 billion because all the horses are there at Tampa.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. So yeah, we'll get into that next, because
field of 20, they're going to have that new starting gates.
The Derby, the Kentucky Derby is going to now be ran in Tampa,
right?
But it's going to be ran in February for the CMF Davis. No,
I mean, no shit. The Florida Derby maybe ran at Tampa. No shit. Seriously. Yeah. If this all goes through and that's the only place that they're going to run the Florida Derby there, I would think.
I would. It would be nice if they wouldn't. I mean, if there was like a transition plan in place before anything happened. It's like, hey, we're going to sell this place in 2 years. The plan is in 2 years, Tampa Bay Downs will be Gulfstream Park now, and nothing. You know what I mean? Like that'd be too easy. But
anything to let us know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen. I still think for people, and this is what helps me sleep at night, and it's not much, but it's that like there's 0.000%, 0.1% chance, I say, that like you look at Churchill and you look at Saratoga and you look at even Oaklawn and you look at Keeneland and maybe you used to say Gulfstream. I guess I can't at the moment, but those tracks aren't going anywhere. I mean, Belmont's, what are they doing at their track other than just completely redoing the whole thing? Churchill obviously essentially redone the whole thing. Saratoga adds more and more every year. They're not going anywhere, right? And so those tracks help you feel safe as far as the sport.
Mm-hmm.
What the sport looks like in that 3 to 5 years is the question. So
Yep, 100% agree.
So all right, guys, that is a look, I guess, at the Kentucky Derby situation. Again, we'll get into the prep race this weekend coming up next. Yeah,
this seems like a common theme, Curtis and CSJ. We go to the track, the wife goes shopping. I mean, it's a great spot.
Everybody wins.
Yeah. And it's when we say it's not like a full blown mall, but it's got a lot of places you can go around it. Like
I just remember being very, which I think a lot of people are the same way, like very surprised. Like, wow, this is like right here. Like this is this is a mall with the track. It's like, where's the track? Oh, it's like here it is.
It's definitely different than driving up to Oaklawn Park. That's for sure.
It's like here's this guy's he doesn't give a shit about racing. He's at over here, and then over here is Arrogate. Here's the best horse in the world. And here's this guy ordering a drink at Yard House. So
he's got a better view of the paddock than most of the people at Gulfstream.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. God,
it's one of those. If you guys go to enough tracks over the course, I mean, again, we've been fortunate enough to go to kind of really all the big ones throughout, and small, but throughout the whole country. And there's just certain towns that you go to where we need to come up with a name for it, but it's basically like when we go, it's something we talk about every time we go anywhere. It's like, what will people say when they ask what we're doing? And because usually it's like, hey, are you guys from around here? And you're like, no, we're in town. And you say for the races or whatever. If you're in anywhere in Kentucky, they know instantly what you're talking about. No problem. Like it doesn't matter if it's a Derby, if it's the Bluegrass, if it's whatever that weekend, they know why you're there. If you say I'm in, and most of the time they know, right? You just say I'm in here for the race. Okay. Oaklawn, same way. Saratoga, obviously, there's no question there. I mean, you don't even I mean, you just know anybody that's there that weekend is there they're going to the track.
Yeah.
Santa Anita, Florida, Gulfstream. You could have the Pegasus. You could have the Santa Anita Derby. You could have the Breeders' Cup, for crying out loud, in Santa Anita. You're like, what are you guys doing here? We're here for the Breeders' Cup. What's that?
Yeah.
Or, oh, that's this weekend? Whatever. So it's just there's certain areas, and here we are talking about the two ones that might be going away that just don't have that, and that's why I'm saying that's a good reason, right, Halterman, why Oaklawn's not going anywhere, Churchill's not going anywhere, anywhere in Kentucky, New York, you know what I mean? Like that's because and dude, even like you want to say, oh, it's a big city thing, not necessarily, because even if you go to New York and you say I'm here, like if it's Belmont weekend, you say I'm here for the races, they know exactly why you're there. Everybody in New York knows about racing.
Mm-hmm.
It's those certain towns, those certain areas.
Yep. No, it is. And that's 100% true. And that there are times where, you do get recognized, and then there are times where nobody would have any clue who you were, so and Gulfstream certainly one where they don't know. You go to the restaurant right across the street, they don't know there are racetracks over there.
Yeah.
They don't care.
For you and I, if you want an ego boost, like if we want an ego boost, we go to Saratoga for a week.
Yeah. Hang out at Saratoga. Walk around downtown, somebody will know you. Yeah.
If you want to get taken back to reality, we head to Gulfstream or something. You go to
Literally
Gulfstream. If
anywhere
you're at
else.
Gulfstream, fine. But if you're anywhere outside of like I didn't
Yeah.
know they rate. Like I thought they shut that down. No, that was the dogs actually. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, guys, let's head to Tampa Bay for this weekend's Kentucky Derby Prep race number 11. Saturdays, the Sam F. Davis Stakes, 250K, going 1/16 miles. This is a Kentucky Derby Prep race, like I mentioned, and you have a field of 10 trying to earn 20 points for the winner, 10, 6, 4, 2. And again, field of 10 with the favorite. Really kind of a mild favorite at 2-1 with Owen Almighty, 3-1 on John Hancock, 4-1 on Poster are your top choices there. Chad Brown's got one in here at 6-1 Treaty of Rome, 6-1 Naughty Rascal. The 8 horse, it's not exactly the most amazing race of all time.
Yeah, and to make matters worse, I ended up taking the favorite, but I didn't think he was going to be the favorite when I handicapped it, but he ended up being. I took number 6, Owen Almighty, on top. I thought his race last time around the Pasco was really good. Now, he got disqualified and placed 5th because he caused some trouble on the turn, and I don't blame the horse as much as maybe the rider just kind of was a little careless. Maybe he kind of thought the race was over, didn't realize there were horses kind of in tight there. But anyway, doesn't matter. He ran a very good race. I just think Irad coming back to ride, even though I thought, he maybe could have kept that from happening last time in the Pasco. But I still think it's a positive that Irad comes back to ride. I know there is this question about, hey, going 2 turns. What do you think about this horse? Is he, pedigree wise, is it a little sketchy? Yeah, but it's a mile and a 16th. He's a pretty fast horse, so I think he'll get position. And I just don't like the rest of these horses very well. That was where the last part of that kind of came in. And I just kind of thought, you know what, if he stretches out decently enough, I think Owen Almighty's the one to beat. So I went number 6, Owen Almighty, in not a great race.
Yeah, it's interesting that you definitely like the fact, like you said, Irad has ridden in the last 2 times and is coming back to ride here. You have some other situations that aren't so, similar, where you have like Pratt's on John Hancock. He probably could have rode Treaty of Rome. He probably could have rode Poster, which he rode last time out. So there's some of those as well that you're like, maybe don't help your case as much. I don't blame you really for picking Owen Almighty. I thought he lost by DQ, but he obviously looked good that race, and in the Iroquois he looked, he lost, but he looked good, and he has his only loss, so it's really hard to falter him. I'm a little bit more nervous with him, just related to stamina, how far he wants to go. Like
100%.
Being a Speightstown horse, Bayern is the damn sire. I know Bayern went further, but I just feel like I don't know. He could get a little leg weary late in this one, and there is some speed in this race as well. Like there's plenty of speed that looks like Simon Don, Camp Hale, John Hancock have shown speed. So to me, the horse that I picked on his dirt debut, and I was pretty impressed, really, what is the number 7 Poster. I liked that horse, that performance. He was making his dirt debut in the Grade 2 Rimson. He won. Now, again, that Rimson race was not spectacular by any stretch of the imagination, but the way he won that race, he kind of veered out and just really looked like hey, this is a dirt horse. Like he looks like the real deal. Won it at 1 1/8. Now he's cutting back a little bit as well. He had a bullet work last time out. I think he's coming into the race the right way. So give me a little bit of mild upset here with Poster.
Let me ask you this: did you look or daily racing form? Is that what you used to handicap this one?
Mm-hmm.
What was that buyer speed figure in that last race compared to some of these others? Because the only reason I ask, because he is like crazy low on the time form numbers.
I know. The way I do it is I always handicap a race on DRF first, and then after I kind of get my initial readings of who I kind of leaning towards, then I go look at time form and to kind of get an idea of pace and say, hey, does this kind of confirm my whatever. You're right. You're totally right. His numbers are very comparable on buyers.
Mm-hmm.
He ran an 83 that last race. Poster did. Owen Almighty has ran an 86 and an 87 his last two. So I was like, all right, he's in the ballpark there.
Yeah.
The 81 for John Hancock last out, 79, 82 for the last two for Camp Hill. So Naughty Rascal ran an 85 last time out in that Pasco. I think the Pasco got a pretty high number.
Yeah.
Just in general, because again, 85 for 87 for Owen Almighty. But yeah, an 83 for that race was, to me, what made him. So it'll be interesting to see. We've had this conversation before when those don't line up, and it's always interesting to see who ends up being right.
Yeah, so that's why I ask, because it is fascinating. What if I told you he's got the second lowest number in the field on time? Like,
I think a big factor to that was, well, at least is my opinion, you're running a 1.8 mile race in December. Okay, these horses are not going to be going very fast. They didn't go very fast. They ran 113 and change, 150 and change. Like, the pace was slow early. That was a factor for me that I kind of liked him, because it's like he ran him down with the slow pace. He didn't have any kind of really factors helping him. So that number was never going to come back high. And I know doesn't time form really factor in that that early pace as well.
Yep.
So
the other thing that I am worried about, and by the way, I'm not like hating on this, but I thought it was interesting that Pratt is not going to be on poster.
Yep. Yeah. I think that is interesting and not a not a usual jockey, right? Bejarano's ridden the first two.
Yeah.
Pratt rode him the last time. So I don't know, man. Like, that to me is a little interesting. They can't find a jockey to, now not a bad jockey to ride at all, but just doesn't have that familiarity with the horse. I want another horse, because when I handicapped it earlier, the odds weren't out. They are now, of course. Manlow has a horse that's interesting that I really liked, and when I look at that 20-1, I like even more, and that's the one, Camp Hill. Like, I'm shocked by the 20-1. This is a horse that, is a maiden, so there's that. But this horse is damn near won twice. Guns Loaded beat this horse 2 back. I mean, maybe the stretch out a little bit longer will help, as he runs kind of the same race every time. Ian Wilkes obviously has got horses running well right now. I don't know. 20-1's worth the shot, in my opinion.
I've got good news and I've got bad news.
You like him, but he's scratching. What is it?
No, I really like him. But if we all three like him, he's probably not going to be 20-1.
Okay,
that's the thing. But I 20-1 is probably the right price. He needs to be double digits, and here's why. You look at his 3 races and you go, okay, he lost to David of Athens. He was pretty good at the time. Guns Loaded, going 1 turn, not a bad horse at all. And Grande last time out, who I think is a decent horse as well. So he's finished second to all 3 of those horses. Well, that's pretty good. But his last 2 races, he was way behind. Like, he was 2 3/4 and 2.5, and you never really thought he was going to be a winner. So that's kind of the flip side of it, where it's like, you do need a price on him. But look, I mean, you look at who he's been racing, probably better horses, or horses that might be a little bit better than what we see here, or at least horses that are comparable. And then you look at, well, he's been really competitive in those races. So I have a feeling it might be another one of those situations where he finishes second or third and you go, well, he ran well again, but maybe he just didn't get up to all the way to win. Yeah. I don't like that he wasn't competitive in the last 2.
It's not great that, you can't, like you said, when you get to a point where you're like continually can't push through. It's like, what makes you think he's going to push through it's not it's the biggest one so far for him. So,
yeah.
So that is a factor for sure. Yeah. What do you think of that? Is another interesting horse that I looked at. the 9 Smoking Boy making the debut here, but has been dominant, overseas. But I mean, to me, when I looked at it as like, he's interesting, got Paco, but it's like I'll let that horse beat me.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. You just don't know how that's going to translate over to Tampa. I think if he wins, I'm not going to be shocked because his pedigree's pretty damn good. By Catholic boy out of a Cairo Prince mare. Look, if you get a number that's decent enough, go for it. I don't think it's impossible. The last 2 races, obviously, who knows what he was up against, but he dusted them. We know this field isn't great, so I don't think it's out of the realm that this horse does it. And it'd be a great feel good story for Paco Lopez, right? To win this race.
Oh yeah, a guy that really deserves it. It's always the way he treats his horses.
Somebody America can get behind.
Yeah. That's maybe we need to hit Paco to be like the commissioner of racing. I think he would be great for it.
Well, I almost said he'd be better than nothing, but would he? I don't know. Hard to say.
He wouldn't help. I know that. Listen, the horse had been running 6 furlongs twice, then went to mile 16th and dusted him even more, and beat multiple horses out of those races that came back to win. So what were in those races? I mean, who knows? But they did come back to win. So definitely an interesting one. Hasn't ran since early December, but again, if you're this is the time to do it. This again. I liked Poster for the reason of I think this thing is gonna there's some horses in here that 1 haven't gone this far, and 2 I don't know that necessarily will flourish going this far, and so for that reason, I like Poster kind of to pick it up late, but the 9 is kind of shown that kind of be able to do that a little bit as well, and so if this thing does somewhat melt down, so to speak, or if you believe that these horses aren't the fast ones, the shorter price ones won't want to go this far. I mean, there's worse horses to play for sure. So I don't know that I am going to put too much into this race in terms of I think this will happen. I think this won't happen. I think these horses are just average enough that a lot of different scenarios could take place.
Yeah, definitely don't have a strong lean in this one. It's kind of an awkward race. I think just the last one I'll mention is the horse that Pratt is going to ride, John Hancock, and will he go now 0 for 3 in a big way with the Cox horses on the Derby Trail? I mean, it didn't go well at Oaklawn at all with Hot Property and Patch Adams. Is it going to do any better with John Hancock? What did you think about him? I wasn't overly high on him, but wouldn't be shocked at the same time because of the connections.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. Are you, leaning too hard against it now because of that recency of it, how bad, not just those 2 have teamed up with these 3-year-olds, but just Brad Cox 3-year-olds have been running. And so, that I didn't necessarily love. Here's the thing. I didn't necessarily love the horse, but had those horses that you mentioned come back and were awesome in those races, and they were teamed up, and it's like now, oh shit, here's another one they're teamed up. You would probably be a little bit more optimistic about it, right?
Yep.
So I think you got to be a little bit careful being kind of, looping all those horses in together. I didn't love the horse enough though, so I'm okay with letting the horse. And it goes same with Treaty of Rome. For Chad Brown, another a little bit different scenario because you don't have you do have Dylan Davis, but you don't have Pratt's on this one, so to speak. But got beat by Guns Loaded by neck last out in the Mucho Macho Man. Certainly not awful performance. 1 when he was a favorite, 2 back as a maiden. It was 11-1 in that last race and ran better than 11-1. So there's certainly reasons to think that he could be enough to win here. What did you think of the 2?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what you're saying. I took a good look at the 2. I think the big problem I had is, the horse that he finished second behind, like you're saying, Guns Loaded, didn't come back to do much. And then I watched the replay again of the Mucho Macho Man and thinking, well, I bet Treaty of Rome kind of galloped out way ahead of him. And he didn't really. He kind of was stopping a little bit too. But I think it's a real good spot for Treaty of Rome to try. I think there, no doubt he needs to go 2 turns. I think the pace is going to be there. I think he's sneaky in this spot. I would not be shocked at all if Treaty of Rome won, but I do hate that Guns Loaded came back and just didn't look very good.
Yeah, and back to the 3, wouldn't you, like another factor for me is like, well, if this horse, if this horse was very good, why did he debut at Tampa going 6 furlongs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I know it. That's not, we've seen that happen before, but it just feels like his best horses are not going to debut at Tampa. So that was another reason to kind of think that, okay, maybe this horse isn't as good, or should not be bet at 3-1 or 5-2, right out of a maiden into a stakes race. So,
yep, I agree with that.
Anything out of here that this race, especially the Sam F. Davis, is, as far as like, it's always, that definitely feels like to me, out of all the tracks, one of the most like, this is not necessarily, it is a quote unquote derby prep, but this feels so much more like a prep for the next one at Tampa Bay.
Yeah, for sure. I think, if Poster shows up here and wins, that's 2 in a row for him. That'd be 4 in a row, but 2 in a row as far as Derby preps go. So you got to take him serious if he wins here. I think there'd be a really good win for him. Boy, past that, I'm not sure if we have a Derby type in here. Maybe Treaty of Rome can get in. Maybe John Hancock is the real deal. I think going Almighty, this is about as long as he's going to want to go before he starts to slow down a bit. So pretty skeptical of this bunch, unless it's your pick, Poster, because he's proven, A, he's undefeated. B, he would have won back-to-back preps if he wins this one.
Yeah, this is a good opportunity for them and Poster, because they could sneak into the Derby with that Remsen, you win, and then because you're pretty much saying, hey, let's see how he does after running on turf. Oh, he looked great. If he does it again here, then you're all but in the Derby at that point. And so now you just kind of have to work your way into the picture in the next few months. And so yeah, I think this for all the horses in this race, it certainly feels like Poster is the one that's like could definitely make a case for being a legit contender.
Yeah.
I think Owen Almighty still could. I just don't think he's going to want to go. Certainly not the Derby distance, but obviously they've tried the Iroquois and the Pasco being a prep for this. And so they're trying to work their way there again, see what he is. But I think this is a huge tail race for them. I think this horse needs to run well in order to make that horse continue down the trail. So We'll find out. I got the number 7 Poster. You're on the 6, Owen Almighty. All right, we're going to do a couple bonus races here, guys. The race prior, I think it's like race number 9, is a Oaks prep race. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll go over to Oaklawn real quick for the Bacoa. But race number 9 on Tampa earlier on the card is, of course, the Suncoast Stakes, 150K going a mile and 40 yards. It is for the Phillies 3-year-olds. And it is an Oaks prep race, same points, 20-10, 6-4-2. Field of 8 is lining up for this one, 5-2 on Her Laugh and 2-1 on Lacara. Those are your 2 favorites. 7-2 on Italian Story. Pratt aboard that one. So there's your 3 kind of main top contenders. Everyone else is 8-1 or higher. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I thought this was a pretty good race. I went with the number 4, Her Laugh, on top in this one. I like that Irad jumps aboard here. 2 for 2. I thought the last race was really good there at Fairgrounds. Get the job done, and the Untappable should maybe improve again. Second time going long. I think this horse is going to get towards the front and be really tough to pass. So I do like the number 4, Her Laugh, in this spot.
Yeah, I liked that one quite a bit as well. I'm just getting seeing the odds on these horses now that the odds are out. I looked at I ended up going with the 2 Dancing Magic at 8-1. I think that's a nice price. Probably deserves to be that price. But Alvarado rode this horse last out, back aboard here. Kind of felt like the light bulb kind of went off that last one. Has ran some nice races over the last 7 starts, and really not on any bad one. There's only been 1 dud in there, really. But that Gasparilla last time out, going 7 furlongs, it was the furthest the horse is gone, and it is a good Magic horse. Looked like finally like, hey, this is how far this horse wants to go. The other races, you go back and look, going 6 furlongs, it was like kind of felt like a horse like never really got running until late. That last race kind of put it together. So the workouts are strong. Obviously with the Campbell and Alvarado have teamed up to do well together. So I think this is an interesting one. You're gonna have to. I'd want a lot of that 8-1 in order to play, but I just think the opportunity is there for a horse that I certainly like the 4 as well. I think Her Laugh is the one to beat in my opinion, but I'm okay with trying to beat her with an 8-1 shot. Let's go to Oaklawn now. Hang on. What did you think of that horse, the one I picked?
Yeah, I think you got to put the horse on a ticket if you're going to go deep in that race, because the race last time out was good, right over the track. I don't know why they haven't stretched that horse out yet. Distance.
I know, right?
So,
Weird,
yeah,
right?
That's weird, but yeah, pretty good.
All right, let's go to Oaklawn Park, race number 9, the Bay Coast Stakes, grade 3, $250K. Also on Saturday, going to mile 16, fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. Field of 6 shows up here. I thought this was a pretty good race here. Corningstone at 2-1, the 6 Loved at 9-5, Free Like a Girl at 3-1, 4-1 on Little Jamie. Very competitive group of 6 horses. Did you go the inside horse or the outside horse?
I went outside. I went number 6 Loved in this spot. I liked the race last time out in the Fall City there at Churchill Downs. This is pretty similar. It was kind of hard to go against Corningstone because I've used her pretty aggressively a couple times already at Oaklawn, but I think Loved is a little bit better of a horse. I think she gets it done. So give me number 6 Loved. But here's the deal. The party's over for the older fillies and mares because the Azeri is next, and Torpedo Anna is probably going to run in that race. So they better win this one.
Yeah, enjoy it while you can, because McPeak's about to unleash the monster back out. So
that's right.
No, I went with you. Same logic. I really was between the 1 and the 6. I like both of them quite a bit, but to me, the 6 just has a little bit more class advantage. This is a horse that has ran in a lot of big races. Ran in the Spinster last year. Last out in Fall City, I thought just looked awesome, and just was dominant really. And the horse kind of won it the right way. It likes this distance, 2 wins and 5 starts at this distance. So give me the 6 Loved. I think this horse is coming in with the head of steam. So I do think the one factor though that you got, the 1 is rattled off 2 wins at Oaklawn this year.
Yep.
Is certainly the fresh horse of the 2. The 6 is coming off a bit of a layoff. So you kind of have the what do you want to call it? The new shooter, the fresh one, although Cornerstone has ran like 23 times, versus the more of the classier one, but lightly, has got a little bit more time, between races. So I still think 6 is good enough to get the job done. We're both on the 6 Loved. Not a bad week. I mean, it's certainly not a huge weekend of racing, but it's not those are some like the races we just talked about. Like maybe you don't love, whoever you're picking in the Sam F. Davis for the Derby, but I think it should be a pretty interesting race.
I think, yeah, that's a good way to put it. The Sam F. Davis may not be like a superstar race, but it's kind of a fun race to see what happens and bet because it's wide open. I like Owen Almighty a little bit. You like Poster a little bit, but neither one of us are going to be shocked if they win by 3 or if they're off the board,
Yeah. It's going to be, this next few months is going to be, or next few months, obviously, but the next month, let's say, is going to be very, like, we're just going to learn so much about these Derby horses, whether it be the ones that have already been running that are making 2 turns, or even like the horses like, East Avenue, that, Sovereignty, these horses that I think are pretty damn good, but either need to make that debut or need to rebound after a bad juvenile or whatever. You're going to start to figure out, because the thing is, dude, is like, you're going to start to figure out, it's like, okay, these horses that we're kind of saying, hey, yeah, you won the Holy Bull. Who cares? Right.
Yeah.
Or we're saying like, well, shit, East Avenue came back and wasn't very good. And Sovereignty, where's he at? You know what I mean? And now you're like, all of a sudden, that Holy Bull winner is looking a little better.
So that's the thing. You've got a 3-headed monster that everybody's assuming is going to be pretty good, but you never know, right? And East Avenue, Journalism, Sovereignty. All 3 of them are. I mean, well, East Avenue's next week. As long as everything goes okay. So that'll be good. The other 2, it's going to probably be March. Well, it will be March. So if they come back and they're strong, you're right. All of a sudden you look around and you go, well, that shit that happened doesn't mean anything. These horses are back. Or if they flop, you go, oh, okay. Well, go burn them square, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So be interesting.
I'd be a little surprised. Especially, I like East Avenue quite a bit. Honestly, I thought we were going to get him in the draft. Just, obviously Barnes fell to us, but I was very okay with getting East Avenue. So I just felt like that his race in the juvenile was a disaster, right? So, with a horse like Chancer, which has started to work out again, which I just saw.
Yeah,
that's encouraging. But again, I'm not he was one where I was like, shit, if he falls to us, and you know what I mean, like, do you take him because it's he's going to be running in stakes races, but I don't love him that much in the dirt. That's his style of racing.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's another one that we're gonna have to figure out some things. If he's just started working, shit. I mean, you're talking at least March before a start, March something. I mean, do you try to get? I don't know if you can get 2 out of him, before the Derby.
He might be 1 prep and try it. Yeah. I don't know. He's on the iffy line. If you have one and have only had 1 workout or they haven't worked out yet that you're watching, we're getting real close to big trouble if they don't start working. So, I mean, that's just the reality of it, because and a lot of times these horses, they need 4 to 6 works for sure until they're ready. And then you're asking a horse off of a layoff, off of 4 to 6 works to go run in a huge race. That's a tough task. Might be a taxing race. And then you're asking them to turn right around and do it again. It starts to get dicey if you need a start coming up here in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes Chancer becomes a Preakness horse, pretty quick in that way.
Yeah, or Pat Day Mile to a race like the Preakness, or I mean, I think what we've kind of learned is with Chad Brown, talking specifically now, he obviously wants to win the Derby, but he kind of understands, okay, this one can't win the Derby, but the Preakness is that easy spot where I could take advantage of it, So, I think maybe that is this year's, horse where go, hey, he can't make the Derby. We're going to get him nice and fully ready to go for a Preakness and be a fresh face that can win type of horse. That could be it.
Well, and just like we always say with trainers that aren't, it's just the way it goes. Like when you've got trainers like him who, he's not Bob Baffert, but he's got contenders in the race every year, or at least aiming to the race every year. So does Brad, so does Baffert now, Pletcher, who, those kind of guys, Bill Mott, that every year have at least 1 or 2, right? And so it turns that need of like, oh, we got to get to the Derby off. It's if it fits and he's right, then and it makes sense, then we will do it.
Yeah.
But if there's any issue, any hiccup, any whatever, then no, it's like, well, we'll shift towards the Pat Day and the Preakness, and then next year, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but if it's a trainer that's been running and claiming races all his whole life, he's going to do everything he can to get that horse into the Derby, right? And so you just kind of have to keep that in mind when it comes to these horses that who they're trained by. So
I agree, totally agree, and that's with a horse like Sovereignty. That's if he comes back and he's just okay. They may just say, we'll hold off till Saratoga, So
yeah, exactly. I mean, and let's be honest, any horse that that takes this long to come back there's a reason, right? There's health issues. Their horse needs to mature or whatever it is. And so you just never know. Hey, Philippe likes that smoking boy. There you go. So
Yeah,
check out the replay.
I definitely I think that horse is going to take money. I'm pretty interested in that one as well. Yeah.
Be very interesting to see what that price ends up being.
That is
It's
one
not,
of those
it's
kind
not
of
a
races.
field that is super fun to bet, right? You're not getting
Yeah.
super psyched about any of them. So,
Like, who's going to be the price you want? Like, are you going to feel good if Poster gets bet down a lot? Probably
No.
not. Same with mine. So
I mean, Poster is already at the bot. You know, I mean, I don't want to go much lower than where he's at now. You know, so if Poster, let's just say for whatever reason, Poster was bet to like 2-1.
Yeah.
And this horse is at 8-1, I'd be like, don't hate betting him, right?
Yep.
You know, like
Yep.
it's not the worst. So I we kind of alluded to it. I don't care that it's. I don't mind. It's not. I don't have a huge like feel on this race. Like I don't have to bet the favorite. You know.
Mm-mm. Nope. Me neither.
I guess I wanted my doorbell. Wait, hang on. I got a sign for it. Shit. Hang on. Live there.
Pulled a Papa Dude on me there. That's something he would do. Yeah, should be good. Philippe said he was he watched that the race last time out there in Puerto Rico, and it definitely, the other thing with the Smoking Boy there in the Sam F. Davis, this is a horse that has a pedigree that says, yeah, he American dirt racing or even turf racing, maybe a little bit. Yeah, that horse can do it. So he's back.
Live air.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, damn. I mean, you never know. Like with mail these days, like if you don't get something and it like they leave, and you get a sign for it, they leave, you might not see it for a week. You know,
Mm-hmm.
shit, man. It's like so. Anytime I get mail, I'm like, I gotta get it. So,
I get it.
yeah. All right, guys. That's all the time we have. Check us out at racedudes.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Racing Dudes premium button at the menu at racedudes.com to learn more. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at racing_dudes. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, all the places you listen to podcasts. We are there. Make sure you go to YouTube. Just search Racing Dudes and make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and notification button so that way you get alerted when we go live. We do this at least once a week. We will be live next week as well as we go further and further into the Kentucky big weekend, Kentucky Derby Trail. Big weekend next weekend as well.
Huge. Yeah, that's when it really gets going. And next weekend, seeing East Avenue back and what's going on there in Louisiana is going to be big time.
Yeah, we will have a betting Bible as well for that next weekend. So be on the lookout for that. A couple changes coming with that as well. So make sure you get again. Make sure you sign up if you're not an email subscriber. Just an email subscriber. It's free, but it's the easiest way to get any of our alerts or anything that's updated on the site or new articles or new podcasts or whatever. You'll be the first to see those there. So just make sure you hit subscribe to any of our newsletters right there. But Halterman, any thoughts, buddy? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, look out for the new betting Bible coming up. We will release it next week. I'll do a video explaining what it is. I'm sure we'll talk about it on this show as well. So we got kind of a new look for it. Make sure to keep an eye out for that. And yeah, everybody have a fun Sunday. It's always the best day of the year. The Super Bowl is always so much fun. So everybody have a fun Sunday, and everybody have a good Saturday, and I guess Sunday of racing as well. We got a few tracks running. So yep, going to be a good weekend.
I miss. I don't know. I don't enjoy Sundays as Super Bowl Sunday as much as I used to. I just don't.
Right.
I'm already like half dreading it. You know, I'm just nervous. It's nervous energy already. But I'm like, I get it because prior to the Chiefs dynasty, I guess we'll call it, like I love it. It was, to me, it was like, it's like Christmas, you know, it's like, I look forward to it every, I was, setting up parties and let's watch, you can just have fun and we'll drink and eat and have good food. And now I'll order all this food or we'll get all this food at the house and I don't eat any of it. I just run around the house like an insane person the
Yeah.
whole time, just stressed out of my mind, and then finally after it's over, I'm shoving down wings or whatever because I can actually enjoy it. But
Yep.
yeah, I'll be honest, like I don't know how I get through any of these games. It's very excruciating. So
Well, I've got advice for you. If you don't want to ever worry about a Super Bowl, become a Cleveland Browns fan. Then you'll enjoy it every year.
That's true. That is true. I mean, could you that being a Browns supporter right now has got to be the worst.
Yeah.
You picked some good ones over you were Browns and then you a little bit of Cardinals mixed in there, and
Yep.
you picked some winners for sure.
Yeah, they didn't go to great. My quarterbacks didn't go to great franchises. That's for sure.
Why didn't you follow P. Ryan's career? You could be a Chiefs guy now. So
That's right. I would have had to been a Bengals guy for a long time too.
Yeah,
though.
that's true. Yeah,
That would have been good.
Yeah, that's.
I had somebody in the sports show say, "Well, I said I think these AFC teams are kind of intimidated by the Chiefs. Well, the Bengals aren't." I'm like, okay, they did go beat them once in Arrowhead, and you give them all the credit in the world, right?
Mhm.
But I said, let's kind of look at this. They didn't the next time they had a chance, and they're a disaster. Like they every year, other than their 1 year, they're a disaster. So good for them, but they can't even get there anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, and I'm a big Joe Burrow guy. I really like Joe Burrow, but that franchise is a joke. Come on.
Yeah, the fact that they didn't even make the playoffs this year is just.
It's just
I mean, there's no excuse for it. It's like everyone pissed about the Chiefs sitting all their starters the last week. It's like, oh, they're just doing that so they don't help. It's like, no, maybe the Bengals should have won one more game this year.
The Bengals. I've got a great idea for the Bengals next year. This is a revolutionary concept. Don't play like complete shit the first 8 games of the season, like you have every single
maybe
year.
Come out with a win or two.
Maybe try to not be 0-4, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what's crazy about I was talking about P. Ryan, and it's like, look at some of the guys that play, like these are the guys that are winning Super Bowls, and so P. Ryan was he might as well have been done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kareem Hunt couldn't make the team in your Browns team. Okay, they didn't want him. The Browns, okay, the Jets cut Mecole Hardman.
Yeah,
didn't want him. Juju couldn't make the active roster for the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, these are all guys that are like legitimately, now Mecole's out, but are legitimately contributing to this team. Okay, Hopkins is washed. Let's see who else made a run for the Chiefs, but somehow Kadarius Toney was good in spurts when we had him last year, right? Or two, in the Super Bowl against the Eagles 2 years ago, he had that amazing punt return. Just like the guys that they use aren't stars by any stretch,
right?
And just go out there and win games. So it's insane that these guys have these. It's like, how does Kareem Hunt looks like? I mean, he's slower certainly, but he looks so good. He looks like the better running back between him and Pacheco, and he can make the team in Cleveland.
Nope. Well, Cleveland's loaded, so
just goes to show you what these guys like. That winning atmosphere does to these guys,
Mm-hmm.
Yep. How hard are these guys really trying in other organizations when it's like, hey, well, if I go out there and bust my ass, it's not going to matter.
There's 2 things that help every NFL football team more than any other factor. Okay, it's a strong coach/coaching staff. The Chiefs have that, and it's a quarterback. Those 2 things will make any team better immediately. And when you got strong coaching and you got a strong quarterback, all of a sudden guys that maybe they're struggling in Cleveland where they don't have either one of those, you plug them into something that's a better fit for them, and they'll get the most out of those guys, And it's amazing how often you see that happen.
Dude, like it used to happen. It used to happen in New England all the time.
All the time. all the time.
All those guys that would come in there. And again, it's great coaching, elite quarterback. I mean, it's not rocket science, you know?
Nope.
I mean, think of the running backs that they had go through there that weren't very good.
Nope.
But were very good there when they were, you know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, Amendola, I remember when he got traded there from, I think it was like the Rams or something. And he was sort of awesome for a while. I mean, obviously Edelman, Wes Welker, you know, after.
Think of the 5'0" guys.
Yeah.
That were
white dudes, man. Just out there shredding. Yeah.
Big time players in those big games. Yeah. Now you have to have like your Gronks and your Kelseys, like you have to.
Yeah.
But these other guys, they're just guys that have kind of been floating around, maybe in bad decisions, maybe we're being asked to do too much, and they get in these better systems. It's like, okay, we know exactly what to do with them. Boom. And all of a sudden you look up, it's like, damn,
Danny Woodhead. Yeah. Holy shit.
Danny Woodhead, LeGarrette Blount. I mean,
oh man.
These guys were major contributors to Super Bowl championships.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the formulas, the Chiefs and the Patriots on those, they're very similar.
The only difference is Andy Reid controls the offense, where Belichick controlled more of the defense.
Yeah.
But the fact remained, the entire staff was really strong. Having a guy like Spags as the defensive coordinator is fantastic. I mean, they took advantage of when they knew that they had Mahomes. They tightened everything up after that first year, and look what's happened.
Yep. Yeah. There's obviously, you know, when you have a guy like Tom Brady and you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, you know, and then how many times it's like, well, Brady, you know, look, they played like shit this season, or they're not winning games, like their defense is doing it. But when it mattered the most, those drives, you had to have it drives. He got it done, right? And that's kind of what Mahomes has done over his, especially these most recent years. You know, his stats. He certainly doesn't put the stats up like he still obviously does, but not like those early years when they were putting up insane numbers every game. They do what it takes to win. So it's it's certainly, it's not, you know, again, it's like, he does things that Brady, you know, he's just a little more flashy, I'd say, than what, you know, Brady wasn't running the ball and things like that, but certainly winning the games is very similar ways. So, But yeah, you guys have fun this weekend. I can't wait. Obviously, I can't wait for it to be over as well. So it's a win-win for me. But hopefully everybody enjoys the Super Bowl. Hopefully everybody enjoys the weekend, and we will see you here next week. We'll recap everything that happened in racing and, of course, the Super Bowl. All right. Good luck this weekend, guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.